Let's talk about this $1 billion email marketing strategy that has gone wrong. MyProtein. Now a $1 billion company, at least in Australia. I think they got acquired for 500 million pounds or something. Could be wrong, but they're worth about $1 billion. And they have a pretty funny email marketing strategy. I'm not a big fan of it. If you're on their list, you would know exactly what I'm talking about. They are renowned for just running sale after sale after sale. And let's dive into it. Let's dive into how much this could be costing them and how much they should be making from their email marketing. So, here's an example of some of their subject lines. This was a portion of the MyProtein emails over the space of like 7 days. Mind you, sure, you could say, well, maybe they were running a sale that week, but this is what it is like consistently. They are always just running 40% off. If you're on their email list, have you ever received an email from MyProtein that is not a sale? Like, have you ever received anything from MyProtein that is not a sale? I haven't. I personally have not. And I know a lot of you will be sitting there saying, well, they're $1 billion company. How do you think you know better? Like, it must be working for them. Otherwise, they'd change it. Sure. Let me dive into exactly why it would be working and how much they probably are making from their emails. By design, when you have millions of email subscribers, there are always going to be tens of thousands of people on your email list who are naturally ready to buy or are currently in the market for your product. You have millions of people by design, just naturally by statistics, there is going to be a percentage of those people who are in the market for protein. It's just natural. They're on your email list in the first place because they were interested in supplements. So there's a good chance a small portion of those people are going to want to buy at any given point. And if you're offering 40% off, you're going to capture a lot of that attention of people who are in the market ready to buy. So, I'm pretty sure they do upwards of $300 or $400 million a year in revenue. They're probably making a cool $100 million a year from email by just capturing a portion of this small minority of people who are ready to buy. But how much are they leaving on the table by only appealing to this small minority? When you think about it, they have a massive email list, probably millions of subscribers. Only a small portion of those people are going to be really willing and ready to buy, sorry. And by running just sales all the time, these are the only people you're appealing to, and you're not appealing to the massive portion of your list. It's typical, to be honest. And it's very, very typical. The bigger the company, it seems to be bigger the worse the email strategy, because they love allocating their resources internally. They have massive teams, right? Look at, the old classic IQ bell curve meme. Someone with low IQ, get an expert. Someone with high IQ, get an expert. But when you're a massive company with tons of team members, you're like, well, we have junior marketing reps with spare time. Why would we hire an expert? And that's when you end up like email strategies like this, which just revolve around regurgitating the same 40% off sale year round every single year. If you've ever heard the saying, the rich get richer. It's true. We know rich people didn't get rich because of their willingness to part ways with money. And a lot of the times, the richer the person, the stingier they are. And it's the same with the most big brands. If they have spare capacity internally in their team, the work is going to get allocated there. If they have a new junior marketing rep who's fresh on the scene and they've got to spare 10, 20 hours a week, they're not going out and saying, we need to hire an email expert. They're saying, we have staff. Let's just train them. Like, there's a good chance in their massive marketing team of hundreds of people, they have people with email marketing experience who are probably really good at their jobs. But when you have a team that big, things get so convoluted, and it's just simpler to just pump out shit like, get 40% off your products, get 40% off your sale all the time. And they end up then palming it off, I forgot the word. They end up palming it off to some junior marketing rep who ends up just doing what's easiest, doing what's the path of least resistance. They're not going to come up with content. They don't understand engaging the entire list. They just want to sell to the people and make sales, because at the end of the day, they need to perform to keep their job, right? So you have their boss going, how's our email marketing going? And you have the intern going, look, I just made you $100 million a year and you're paying me $44,000 a year. What a great ROI. And the boss goes, oh, sounds pretty good to me. $100 million is a lot of money. Here's an extra paid day off for your efforts. But little do they both know, they're just cooking this half-assed strategy because of how complex their organization is. And they end up leaving millions of dollars on the table, because overhauling this is a massive pain in the ass. But there is something that a lot of us can learn from it. So look at this. This is a good representation of what a total addressable market looks like. Not just in email, but in any market ever. You'd have 3% of people who are ready to buy now, 6%, 6 to 7% of people who, they could be open to buying. But then you have 90% of the list, or 90% of your addressable market, who is not in the market to buy. 90%. If you have 1 million people, 900,000 of them are not ready to buy. And if you don't want to buy protein, like if you're not in the market for protein, you're not going to buy it at a discount. Think about it. If you're in this 90% of people and they say, would you like 40% off our protein? You don't even want protein. You're like, no, I don't want any percent off protein. I don't want it. I'm not going to buy it. Maybe, 40% off would convince some people who love a bargain to dive into this. But realistically, you're only appealing to this small subset of people. Definitely the 3%, maybe a few people from the 6 to 7%. Same sort of pie chart, I guess, triangle chart can be applied to your email list. It's going to be the exact same. There's going to be 90% of the people on your list are not going to be ready to buy. 3% are going to be ready to buy. And there's going to be an overlap of 6 to 7 people who could be convinced. And if you're just appealing to these people, say you're MyProtein and you're only sending 40% off codes and you're only appealing to this portion of people, you're relying on external factors to take the rest of this 90% into this, 7%. You're relying on external factors. You're relying on the market and the industry to convince people, that they have a problem, to increase their problem awareness. You're relying on the market to convince people that protein is important and there's tons of product benefits. You're relying on social media influencers to maybe perhaps convince people to make a change. And you're relying on people to make those lifestyle changes. Because if you have 90% of the list and there's a good portion of those people who have fallen out of love with the gym, or they're not even going to the gym, they're never going to buy the protein. So you're relying on all these external factors to take people from the overwhelming majority into the small minority who are willing to buy. So you're literally relying on other people to do the job of what your email marketing should be doing, and you're just hoping to capitalize on the efforts of that, to hope that your 40% offer convinces those who are willing to buy to shop with you rather than a competitor. You understand? So in the long term, you're costing yourself an unfathomable amount of sales, something you can't even calculate, because if you're not putting in any effort to convince these people that they should be buying, you are just leaving an extreme amount of sales on the table in the long run. And there is a much better strategy to consider here, and that is going to be playing the long game. And this is essentially this graph here, this dictates or sort of visualizes exactly what your email marketing strategy should be. So you have your entire email list. The overwhelming majority needs to be convinced to buy, and the small minority is ready and willing to buy. It's how can we get as many people as possible from this massive portion of the list into being ready and willing to buy. It's not, okay, who is ready and willing to buy and how do we capitalize on that? It's how do we convince the most amount of people possible to be ready and willing to buy? Then how can we capitalize on that? So if you know 90% of your list needs nurturing, why are you not doing that? You're not going to an objection to that. I can answer my own question. An objection to that is they're like, well, why would I want to appeal to these people when I can make easier sales here? I don't want to lose out on these quick sales because, by rule of numbers, because they have so many people on the email list, as we said, they're still probably $100 million a year. But the reality is, with a good strategy, you're not going to exclude these buyers in the short term. You can still advertise offers to them and they will still purchase. But you can produce more content that also appeals to the masses. And can you not see how you would make more sales like that? If you're taking people, if you've designed a strategy to take more people from here to here, you're going to make a lot more money. Think about it. Say you manage to engage 30% of people from here. Just engage them. Just get them opening your emails. 30% of people. Over the course of 60 days, maybe you can convince 10% of them to buy, or convince 10% of them that they need to buy, and then you can capitalize off maybe half of that. So if you have 500,000 people in this needs to be convinced section, you can get maybe 150,000 people reading and engaging emails. 30%, pretty standard. Then if you can convince 10% of those of their problem that they need protein in their life, you now have 15,000 people pretty keen to buy some protein. They're now part of this 6 to 7%. They're open to it. And some of them might even be willing to buy now. Then you only need to convert half of them. You only need to convince half of them to buy with you rather than a competitor. And MyProtein probably does that extremely well because they're offering 40% off. It's such an attractive deal. So instead of now offering that 40% off to just these people, they've moved 15,000 extra people into this portion of the list, are then advertising their 40% off and making 7,500 extra sales. These are just assumption numbers. Like these aren't rocket science or these aren't set in concrete, but just based off some hypotheticals, like 30% open rates, you can convince 10% of people to be problem aware, then half of them buy with you. At an average order value of $60, it's nearly an extra $500,000 in revenue in a 60-day period if you're doing this in sort of 60-day sprints. The game of email marketing is not how can we make more sales now or how can we make sales now, this week, this month. It's how can we convince the most people on our list that they have a problem and we're here to solve it. We're the ones to solve it. And this is the overarching flaw in the MyProtein $1 billion email marketing strategy. The 40% off sales are great and they're probably making a shit ton of money, but they're leaving a shit ton on the table. Let me tell you that. There is a lot more to be made here, and I'm sure a lot of their list is underutilized. That's all for today's video. I just wanted to speed through the MyProtein strategy. It's been something that has been bugging me for a while. If you need help with your own email marketing strategy, head down to the links in my bio. In the description of this video. You can book a call. There's a free welcome flow guide now available, so you can head down, grab the welcome flow that we use for all e-commerce stores that converts extremely high. If you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.